This takes a moment. Let me stop the transcription, otherwise it is really messy. The transcription is quite interesting because clearly my so heavy Afrikaans accent sounds like every second word I say is a swear word. At least that's what the transcription tells me. Right, evening everyone. It's not the greatest turnout, but I do know that people watch these recordings. You can see we're looking at Learning Unit 2. And just a quick reminder, the last bit of Learning Unit 1, I've done a short video edited from first semester and shoved it onto the YouTube channel, the Evaluating the Strategies. So it is there. This, in terms of the textbook, has been a major upgrade. I am concerned that the assignment is based on the previous textbook, but I had made available the additional slides when we needed those. And if you need more slides, let me know if some of the information is not in the new textbook. So I'm going to do it differently. I just wanted to have something decent at the start. I shared a couple of articles. Now, I've tried to share the articles earlier. I've tried to share the articles later because I think people tend to have a moment just before class to look at it. So I've put in a couple around disruptive technologies, and we'll talk about all these technologies and also strategic innovation. Have a glance at these disruptive technologies just to verify we've not done this chapter. Have we done? We've not done this chapter. I need some verification on that. No, we haven't. Okay. So disruptive technologies are those that render previous industries obsolete. And it's often the kind of definition that people tend to think innovation is about. And that's why I want to start with it. Remember, there's a lot more to strategic innovation than disrupting industries, destroying industries. However, I think in terms of where we are in the world now, we see significant disruption all the time with AI driving incredible disruption and going forward with more disruptive technologies. So you can see some of the stuff that has been put into this. Anyone here use VR? Play games using VR? I don't like it. It makes me really nauseous. I'm not a big fan of VR. Anyone use virtual reality to game with? How's it, Rianto? And then, AI, machine learning. And I think the disruptions in terms of AI will be significant. Cloud services, when they happened, nanotechnologies. I mean, if you think of what nanotechnologies can do in terms of how people are using it in medicine, and then big data and what we do with big data and analyzing and determining customer trends, etc. 3D printing, not just the kind of 3D printing that you'll have at home. I think you're aware that people are 3D printing body parts. Yeah, and the need for cybersecurity. This is an interesting one. Unfortunately, there are a couple of videos doing the rounds that say you can get desktop quantum computers. I don't think we're there yet. A quantum computer is a massive building. It looks like a massive chandelier. But once quantum computing gets to the point where you will have a desktop quantum computer, our world will change completely. And you can see some of the other examples there. So to go through this, we have a glance at the objectives very quickly. So we will look at the idea of innovation. We'll also chat about the steps in the innovation process. Oh, yes, I've definitely created videos around these. Whether I've loaded them, I'm not too sure yet. Please go check that they are there. And then the idea of value innovation and how value innovation and creating value for money through our advances will make a difference. Red, blue ocean, we'll chat about those as well. And we'll talk about the idea of the role of leadership. So if we think of innovation, give me examples of some of the most significant innovations in the last 20 years that have changed your life, the way you do work. What innovations have had the biggest impact on your life in the last 20 years? Even more recently than that, you can go a little bit further back. I'm not going to go and check the timelines.
AI has been a real game changer.
Well, AI is a game changer. Those of you that have watched those AI videos that I created, honestly, those things generate in less than 2 minutes. And I'm now using AI to generate case study, phenomenal case studies. So AI is definitely a game changer and will change our lives going forward. Who uses AI extensively at work or uses it at work? Have started using it at work? What do you do with it, Ricardo? And I'm worried I'm saying that wrong. How do you
Um,
use it? Where?
so mainly concepts that I'm not familiar with. I mean, for example, today I was looking at some Amazon examples and trying to understand how Amazon works in the US. So that kind of thing, just understanding concepts basically, and the odd, like if you need to write an email in a certain way and try and get a point across, it does help you to kind of fine tune that a little bit.
What do you do for a living, where?
I work in key account management for an export company in Cape Town. So my
Very, very cool.
accounts, yeah, so my accounts are North America and South America. So not so cool at the moment, um, but
Yes.
good
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. No problem, no problem. Well, it was quite interesting. We had they call it Night of the Stars, and I wrote we call it an accolade for the top strategic management student. And I write it from a very personal perspective. I write it from scratch. And what management did is they took my bit and told AI to improve it. And so it took out all the personal bits and and I also wrote in there, that she manages a bunch of reprobates in her class, and AI thought that was offensive, so it took it out and spat out a different one, which is quite annoying because I don't use AI when I write references and those kinds of accolades. But it sounded a lot better than mine did, and it was just a simple matter of telling AI to improve it. It was pretty impressive. So when we think of innovation, I think our reality is still that the rule is innovate or evaporate. Businesses that don't innovate disappear very quickly. Hold on a second. I need to. Businesses that don't innovate disappear very, very rapidly. I think what happens with businesses, there's this concept of the so-called success groove. And what the success groove does is it rewards you for doing business in a particular way. And you become so successful at doing it in that particular way that you become irrelevant. Stupid example, and my apologies for an old example. Nokia that bet the future on the touch button candy bar design phone, while Apple had already launched a touch screen. Nokia mid 2000s had 42% of the cell phone industry as market share. Now they've got about 2%. And no one's ever got to 42%. But it literally is just thinking that what made us successful in the past will make us make us successful in the future. So in terms of innovation, I think there are a couple of things that we need to remember. It is more than creativity. Creativity is the idea. However, innovation is the product or service or improved process that is the consequence of that idea. And there is a significant difference between an idea and innovation. The innovation is when we turn that idea into something that will appear on a shelf somewhere, appear on a website somewhere, or will be used as a process in terms of transformation in an organization. And I did the honors lecture on innovation last night, and I was reminded about how ideas are generated in Silicon Valley and people essentially taking LSD and then going to rock concerts, and that's where the idea of 3D printing body parts came from. Now, I'm certainly not promoting you going to work tomorrow, dropping acid and saying, well, my lecturer said, oh gosh, I might be in a little bit of trouble. But it's interesting how people have had such pressure that they now do these kinds of things because the idea of innovation is core to their survival in Silicon Valley. So let's look at strategic innovation. I think the first thing to remember about innovation is that it is not an arbitrary process. It is not an aha moment that happens because an apple falls on your head and you believe that you've discovered gravity. I think innovation is an active process of testing, looking for opportunities, assessing opportunities, trying to look at what new technologies are available, seeing what we can draw from those technologies. So innovation has to be driven as part of a process. It is not something that simply happens because somebody has a good idea. And yes, we've seen examples of that. The Please Call Me is a wonderful example of where somebody had an aha moment, and we know how the Please Call Me process has unfolded. So it is a process of constantly questioning everything we do. I'm hoping that some of you will join me for honors next year. And in honors, we do a chapter on critical theory. And the essence of critical theory is question everything. Do not accept things at face value. And even the theories and the best practices that we teach here, even the nonsense that I say in class, constantly be critical, constantly question. At work, question why you do things in a particular way. And these processes are important because innovate and evaporate are the realities of being in a modern world. And you can see the kinds of consequences of having this kind of strategic approach to innovation. So when we look at strategic innovation, I think the first thing to remember is that it goes hand in hand with dynamic capabilities. So it goes hand in hand with the ability to constantly reinvent yourself, with the ability to make sure that you are constantly relevant. Give me examples of companies in South Africa that really are very good at innovation.
Do they have to be South African companies?
Go with it. Go with an outside company. I don't mind, Boyo.
I'm actually thinking Nando's.
Nando's is a wonderful innovator. I mean, Nando's is an incredibly powerful innovator. Just the way that, they started off as this chicken sales place in Rosebank in Johannesburg, and it was so popular that it went into innovation. But all of those chicken type outlets are incredibly innovative. If you see where KFC has evolved from and what is available now. And it again, it's about innovation. Other innovative companies in South Africa that stand out?
Better.
Go for it, Taylor. Who spoke?
I did. Can you not hear me?
Yeah, somebody's okay. Chulimanko, you just mute yourself. Sorry, somebody else is there. Go for it now, Taylor. My apologies. Now you can't hear me, Bowles.
Sorry, no, the headphones aren't working. I tried to say checkers.
Checkers. Yeah, I mean, everything from 60/60 and everything else. Wonderful example. Marty, go for it.
F&B.
Why F&B?
F&B has actually created a lot of innovative products like the e-wallet. I remember for a time, people would refer to the e-wallet, even if they were using a similar feature from another bank, like the Absa Cash Send or the Capitec.
Yes, absolutely.
But just because e-wallet was so associated with F&B because they were the first in the market to, really utilize it, sort of became like the brand name.
And that's exactly it. It's that idea of first mover advantage. Scary thing is now when you get caught speeding and you don't have cash on you, the people who ask for bribes will accept e-wallets. I'm not sure that I should comment about that because I don't pay bribes and I don't know how e-wallet works. So in terms of being able to strategically innovate, you'll see that there's three pillars there. So the first one is this idea of focusing on today but also making sure that we are around in the future. And it almost starts talking about the difference between sustaining innovation and disruptive innovation. Sustaining innovation are the Kaizen type approaches. It is the idea of constantly improving, small ongoing improvements, Kaizen. Oh, Yoko, 100%, a wonderful, wonderful innovation. And I see that in Cape Town, they use Yoko now, the car guards, as a way of paying tips, of receiving tips from people. They use that Yoko machine. To also just say, I believe there's an app that you can download now that you can use to scan instead of having to buy the machine. But I can't remember which app that is. And then obviously the disruptive innovations where new technologies arrive, new opportunities where you will render obsolete previous often entire industries. Guys, and then in terms of the where innovation sits, it is at the core of an organization's survival. And I'm so sorry to repeat this, but the rule is, and I know you will remember this, innovate or evaporate. It is a stock standard approach in terms of the Fortune 500 companies. That is one of those phrases that tie in to the actual Fortune 500 companies. Guys, and then lastly, I think when we look at what makes us successful and gives us a competitive advantage now, it's often less on products and services, but rather on the way you go about creating those products and services, the ability to constantly move ahead, the ability to, where necessary, disrupt existing industries, to render obsolete previous products, etc. So when we look at the nature of innovation, two forms of innovation, obviously disruptive and sustaining innovation. Give me examples of products that destroyed industries, that rendered industries obsolete.
Oh, Spotify and Apple Music for sure.
Spotify, Apple Music. I mean, where is Musica today? Where is
they
Musica
completely
today?
destroyed the CD selling business.
Yeah. Well, CDs are in the past. Vinyl making a comeback, but I think as a nostalgic thing. So Spotify, 100%. Other products, services that have rendered industries obsolete. Netflix and DVDs, 100%. I mean, for me, Netflix is a wonderful example. You know, starting off with delivering videos to your doorstep and then fetching them and now streaming. And I think most of us have Netflix. What industries did your smartphone destroy?
Kodak, or at least
Yeah,
the digital
Kodak.
printing
The
business.
idea of needing a separate camera or a camera separate from your phone, having said that, professional photographers would still default to a decent camera. What other industries did your smart device destroy? Who still has an alarm
The
separate from their phone? Landlines gone,
Also the taxi
100%.
industry, like the traditional taxi industry.
The tradition, absolutely, with Uber, and Uber is a major disruptor. We have to look at that. Who still has a GPS separate from their phone? Can I just see who here owned an actual GPS? Tom, I don't know what the other one was. Garmin, yeah, that's it. I had a Tom, obviously. Now I wouldn't even know where it is because I've got Google Maps. Garmin, yeah, guys, any other industries that the smart device destroyed? Let's be honest, newspaper delivery is gone. I know of some
Portable
people
music
that still
players.
get newspapers delivered. Go for it, Marty.
Portable music players.
Well, yeah, iPods. What am I saying? iPods, sorry, iPods. So we see one device just destroying and rendering obsolete multiple industries. Can I just ask, who does still have an alarm separate from their phone? No one. Okay, I think that's quite logical now. So, in terms of disruptive innovation, I love this term, creative destruction, where our ideas and our knowledge and our innovation and creativity will render obsolete what used to be the standard in terms of a particular industry. And what will happen is that generally you'll start with this kind of disruptive innovation, pick up some of the early adopters, and initially it might be glitchy and there'll be a lot of improvements around it. And then once it has taken off, the industry changes completely. And again, landlines, a wonderful example of what cell phones did. I mean, one of the interesting stories about when the CEO of Motorola called the CEO of AT&T, and he said to the CEO of AT&T, "I am phoning you on a wireless device." It is a kind of moment where you phone your competitor and say, "But I've got some bad news for you." And we know what's happened in terms of landlines. So, in terms of disruptive innovation, there are a couple of things: new products, new services, new technologies. Give me examples of apps that has caused disruption in industries, that have destroyed industries, apps that you download on your phone or created new industries. Uber, a wonderful example. I mean, Uber as an app has destroyed what the traditional metered taxi would be. Spotify, 100%. Google Maps, 100%. Go for it, Marty.
Airbnb.
Airbnb, wonderful example of just a new way of doing things. Anyone want to share an app on their phone that they cannot live without? Mine is Google Maps because I have no sense of direction.
Spotify.
App on Spotify, mine as well. Yeah, I play music all the time. WhatsApp, yeah, true. I mean, it's something we cannot live without. Any other apps who's got a strange app that they think no one else has that they use that has changed their life? Think of online banking and what online banking has done. I mean, my wife told me that Standard Bank is closing down even more branches because of the move to online banking. Guys, so in terms of disruptive innovation, I think what makes a disruptor really successful is to do that, a basic, cost-effective, and convenient solution. And the apps that we have on our phone all do that for us. Sustaining innovation is an important reminder because often we think that it's all about creative destruction. It's all about rewriting the rules of the game. There are times where you will improve and you will add extra bits and pieces. And it's often because the new technology is not here yet, but it really is the focus around making sure that we adopt the Kaizen approach to things. Who has come across the term Kaizen? I'm sure I've used this before. Kaizen, small, continuous, ongoing improvements. If you work within a manufacturing environment, I can tell you now, you would have Kaizens as part of your KPIs. Crossed the term Kaizen before? Okay. Well worth having a glance at it, a search on that. Okay. Right. So in terms of what sustaining innovation is, I think the first one is to take existing products and improve their performance. Who has a really nice camera on their phone? Who has a really decent phone with seriously decent cameras? Which phone do you have, Leica? iPhone. Oh, I honestly think some of the pics taken by an iPhone 16 is some of the best pics I've ever seen taken by a phone. Anyone want to disagree with that? The iPhone people are here. The iPhone people representing. I mean, 100%. The way that that camera has improved, just in terms of quality, has been insane. The second thing is that often when we look at disruptive innovation, disruptors are often businesses that start in a garage somewhere and will catch existing, long-standing, traditional organizations off guard. I mean, we've seen a lot of it. And for me, one of the best examples of a disruptor was Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak building the first standalone computer in Steve Jobs' parents' garage, and then essentially rendering the idea that everything has to be connected to a mainframe obsolete. So often it's small companies that we consider to be startups that do the disruption. And for big businesses, those small disruptors are very, very dangerous. Now, in terms of sustaining innovation, I think these are more for those organizations that have got a powerful brand, that have been around for an extended period of time. And what they do is they use the learning from the past and the competencies within their employees to constantly update and upgrade and renew. And I think the key thing in terms of these kinds of sustaining innovations is that businesses that have a long-standing footprint in terms of past successes are very, very good at diffusing those innovations and those updates. They're able to use it across a range of commercial products. And then lastly, I think these are companies that are the big players. They have great financial resources, but more importantly, a customer base that trusts their brand. I've put this one in to contrast the two. Any comments on those contrasts there? Any comments on those contrasts? Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing what an iPhone 16 camera can do. It really is. So in terms of sustaining innovations, you're not destroying markets, you're just offering a better service and product. Because you have a lot of learning and you have a lot of foundational building blocks in place, it is a lot easier to manage. And I think it is about improvement. It's about Kaizen, small continuous improvements. And then lastly, generally, you're a market leader when you sustain advantage. If we think of motor vehicles, what some of the market leaders are doing and how easy they found it to transition to electric vehicles. Disruptive innovations, honestly, these are those individuals that like to operate within the blue ocean. And we'll talk about the blue and the red ocean. These are people that will create brand new industries. These are the individuals that we would consider to be those pathfinder individuals that are constantly taking steps into the dark and creating new. Often because it's new, very resource intensive, and you always need additional support to manage the successes of that. And we see that it's in technology type industries. And my favorite thing is the good old cliche of, these kinds of disruptions happen in a garage somewhere. So in terms of strategic innovation, I think there are a couple of things that are important. And remember, I said that this isn't an arbitrary thing, that this is a focused, intentional process driven by a number of building blocks that allows you to actually keep yourself relevant in terms of the environment. So the first one, it requires that your stakeholders are on board, your leadership, your employees, your stakeholders, that you listen to them, that you communicate with them in terms of your employees, that you empower them, that you give them the freedom to take risks. You guys might be aware of this, but Google gives their employees, and particularly in the technical side, 20% of their work life to create their own magic, as long as Google benefits from the products and services they create. So in terms of what makes a strategic organization, innovative organization, the first one is to build a culture of innovation. How do we build a culture of innovation, guys? What are the kind of things that we would expect to be part of a culture of innovation?
Leadership encouraging innovation, or at least conversations around innovation by rewarding employees.
Absolutely. So leadership walking the talk and recognizing through the reward system, etc. What else can we do, guys? For me, it's about empowering employees. It's about appointing phenomenally competent employees and giving them the freedom to take risks, giving them the freedom to question the status quo, allowing them to take their time to create and recreate and come up with new ideas. Leadership is essential because these are the individuals that will allocate the kind of budgets that will allow you to innovate. And then it is a process. Remember, not an arbitrary thing where everyone has an aha idea, or you sit under a tree and an apple falls on your head and you discover gravity. I'm not sure how you discover gravity by doing that. You might define gravity. So in terms of strategic innovation, I think the first thing to remember what organizational culture is, it's that the way we do things in this business, it's the way we do things around here. I think part of culture that is important, and oh gosh, I'm so excited right now because I can use paint. Um, I take my art very seriously, as you know. But part of that process is once you've created a vision, and in that vision, you want to talk about being innovative. One of my favorite visions, and I'm so sorry because it's a dated vision, but I've not found anything that is more powerful than this at this stage. In the early 2000s, Nokia had as their vision, voice goes mobile. And they achieved voice goes mobile around the mid 2000s, maybe 2007, 8. Then they made their vision, life goes mobile. What is more powerful when you have the idea of a handheld device that allows life to go mobile? So part of that vision, which is created by your leaders, you need your mission statement, and you'll know that in there we'll have our purpose and a range of things. For me, though, it is the value statement that drives your culture. So there are two kinds of values in an organization. There are the stated values, part of your value statement, and there will be a reference to innovation in there. And there are the real values, which essentially would be the behaviors of those employees within the organization. So in terms of culture, it's the shared values, and those values include things like the need to constantly question everything, the need to take risks, the need to learn from those risks. And I think we know that culture starts with leadership, but it is sustained through employee interactions. And that's why when we define culture, we refer to it as that's the way we do business around here. And you can see the kinds of things that will go into that. It will depend on our regulations, on the way we use our standards. It's on our principles in terms of how we interact, on the things that we value in an organization. But it's also supported by employee attitudes that are positive to innovation. And then the key thing, as Marty said, you have to recognize and celebrate those innovations. And those are important because these are the individuals that need that extra energy, because constantly coming up with new ideas is very, very difficult to do. So there are a couple of things that will create this innovative culture. As I said, empowerment, and also the ability and the freedom to make mistakes, to take chances, to take risks, as long as you learn from those risks. And I think for me, I love this idea. Mindset is about learning. Mistakes are learning, and them embracing them and then making improvements around them. Another interesting one is the need for a diverse workforce, for people who think about the world, look at the world differently, and then recognizing those kinds of innovations that are created through reward systems, and making sure that marketing works with finance, works with operations, works with HR, works with research and development, and giving people the freedom in terms of their work environment. It looks a bit like this, and I would be quite interested to know which one you guys would prefer. There are two types of organizations. You get your traditional organization, and we'll talk about this at some point, but your chaotic organization, that mix between chaos and order, but I'm not going to discuss that. This is your innovative organization. In a traditional organization, you will have a job description and the thinking around the job description. As long as you complete every one of those duties, you will achieve a certain thing. In a modern, innovative organization, the rule is you are told as an employee, we want you to create something that does the following. We don't really care when or how you go about it, or not when, because there are deadlines, how you go about it. We don't care the process. Here, the process is do this job to duty, do this duty, do this duty, and you'll make that happen. Here, we don't care as long as you focus on the outputs. Who would prefer to work under T, the traditional organization, where you get a job description and you know that if you follow those duties, you're aces? You prefer that one, Marty? Go for it.
Honestly, I do. Rules
You're,
can be, yeah, really freeing because you know exactly what you need to do. And
it would drive
obviously,
me
with
insane working like that, boy.
some room for creativity.
Say again?
As long as the job has some room for creativity, but rules can be really nice.
Okay. Who would prefer this one, where it's about what you build, but we don't care how you go about building it? Can I just see anyone work in this kind of environment where you're told what to make and you go about doing it, what to achieve and you go about doing it? So I'm assuming most people are here still. Okay. Or people don't know what the question is. I don't know. No one's responding. Right. So in terms of strategic innovation, so there are a couple of things that we need to remember around leadership. The so-called great man theory, and this is not about sexism, it's an actual theory, and obviously the origins are from a long, long time ago, where the focus was on the man. And the belief is that in certain organizations, these great men are those individuals who have standout capabilities, who can make magic happen, who can drive innovation, who can create a vision. Give me examples. And obviously women are included, but I'm going to stay to the purest form of the theory of great men who've left their mark in terms of the innovation space.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was a wonderful visionary. I think people don't realize that in addition to Apple, Steve Jobs also gave us Pixar. And what is the most famous Pixar movie? Which is the original Pixar
Toy
movie?
Story.
Toy Story. Who has seen Toy Story? Please tell me that you have all seen Toy Story. Okay, Rianta, Leica. Robert, not seen Toy Story? Oh my gosh, Taylor, I was about to phone your parents. Atira, seen Toy Story? Thank goodness. Nathan, seen Toy Story? Oh gosh. Okay, because it's a non-negotiable. Because if you haven't seen Toy Story, you would have to go and watch it as homework. Okay, what did Elon Musk give the world, Leica? And I agree, that's one of those other great men type ideas. Gave us Tesla, and we know what Tesla is
And
about.
PayPal, although he
And
didn't do that
PayPal.
alone.
Yeah, absolutely gave us PayPal. We must never forget that. Yeah, electric vehicles, space travel, a range of other things. Any other great men in terms of technology and innovation? I'm missing out on a couple here, actually.
Henry Ford.
Henry Ford, 100%.
Does Thomas Edison count?
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas Edison is a wonderful innovator. Guys, I'm thinking more about Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Sergey Brin, Larry Page, obviously from Google. Please tell me that at least there's one woman innovator that we can talk about. Otherwise, we support this nonsense great man theory. Marie Curie has to fit into this. So, yeah, guys, and essentially, when we look at what effective leadership is, it's the idea of making sure that we have these powerful traits and that we then create an environment where if the organization is successful, every single person in the organization believes they are successful. And if every single person in the organization believe that they are achieving career and job success, the organization is successful. So somehow magically linking individual and organizational success. And then in terms of leadership, I think the first thing is that often leaders are about creating this kind of environment where we give people the freedom to create magic. I think there are a couple of things in terms of how leaders can foster innovation. The first one is active listening. And it really is listening with an open mindset because, I mean, it's quite an interesting approach. Again, I'm drawing, and my apologies for the mess. But when we start looking at strategic leadership, we talk about adaptive and absorptive capacity. If you think of someone's brain like an old style hard drive, I don't know if anyone's ever broken an old style hard drive open, but it's the silver disk. And your brain is very much like this old style hard drive. And every time you interact with people, things, and events, you create a theory about those people, things, and events on your hard drive, on your brain. People who have adaptive capacity, and I'm just skipping ahead, will be able to listen to other people. And despite their own theory about the world being different, will be able to learn and adjust if need be, will be able to adapt their theory because we have theories about absolutely everything. We have theories about what it means to be a good husband, what it means to be a good wife, what it means to be a good driver, what it means to be a good employee. And often these theories sit on our brain. And it's when they cast in concrete and people won't change those ideas that you have the opposite of an innovative type person. Please give me examples about theories that you have about the world, people, things, and events. What are some of your theories about the world?
Can you give us an example, Dr. Henny?
Well, my theory about the world is that good guys finish last. That's not true.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I believe good guys finish first. I'm just throwing out the negative there. My theory about the world, if you're good to the universe is good to you. These theories live there, guys. And every time we interact with people, things, and events, and can I just say, you will have theories about how to study, how to do assignments, how to do a particular job at work. There are thousands and thousands of these theories that live on our mind. The key thing is having an open mindset. So when people give you information that contradict your theory, that you're big enough to actually test your theory and rewrite that theory based on the new information. Please tell me that that makes sense. Because stubborn people cannot do that. The second one is that environment that empowers, where people are given the freedom to make their own magic. And I think ultimately it's that overseeing the overall progression, but allowing individual accountability for successes around innovation. So in terms of the innovation process, and I think I've created an AI on this one as well, always looking at the environment for opportunities. So it's about your pestle factors become very important. Your industry factors, what your competitors and customers, etc., are doing and are saying. And then once you start seeing those potential opportunities, is to prioritize them. I think very few businesses have the ability to pursue every single opportunity that they identify. Very few businesses have all those resources. Shucks, and my apologies for using this example. In his book on writing, Stephen King's, and I hope you guys know who Stephen King is, the horror writer. Stephen King says that it's absolute nonsense when people say to him, there are no stories out there. He argues that he can stand in a supermarket for an hour and watch things, people, and events unfold. And within that hour, he will have a story, at least an idea for a story. It's the same thing here. But he's not going to try and write all 10 stories. So he'll prioritize the one that he has most of the resources and most of the capabilities to carry out. And then those critical success factors, essentially, what are the non-negotiables for this idea and product to be successful? And then your plan, and then measuring whether you are successful. So in terms of the environment, I think there are a couple of things to remember, guys. You are constantly looking for changes in the environment. And remember, this is that kind of stagnation, and you become Kodak, and you become BlackBerry, and you become, did old style watches from Switzerland, and you become Nokia, and you become Mr. Video and Blockbuster Video. There are lots of examples around that. And then initiating change. But I also think it's about opportunities and threats in the environment. And then finding that magic mix between what must we keep from a sustaining innovation perspective, where do we need to disrupt? In terms of evaluating, I think the realization here is that no organization has enough resources to try and capitalize on every single opportunity. So the first thing is to look at cost benefits. And then the second thing is to say to yourself, does this make sense in terms of our vision, our mission statement, our business portfolio? And then those critical success factors. And what it means is you look at each of those opportunities by asking two questions. What potentially can come out of this particular product? And then secondly, can it expose us to risks? Those critical success factors are those that essentially will allow you to align with the realities of the external environment of an industry. Guys, and then your plan. In terms of your plan, making sure that you have contingencies and then measuring the success. And you can see the kinds of metrics people use. Turnaround time, remember turnaround time being time to market. What potential market share can we capture? How much revenue can we generate? How will that customer satisfaction have a knock-on effect in terms of attracting additional customers or back to other products? And then also the number of successful patent applications. Have we in this class looked at the top innovators or the top patent registers in the world? It is interesting. I thought we've done it in class. Companies which registered the most patents, I can't even spell, in 2024. Yeah, to just say, guys, you're going to see Samsung at the top of it. Okay, there they are. And it's interesting, 2 South Korean companies at the top and a whole bunch of other South Korean companies there. Anyone surprised at any of those? Let me try and make this a little bit bigger. Anyone surprised at any of those in the top 20?
I'm shocked that Toyota is still in the top 10.
Well, Toyota is hugely innovative, but remember, this is about the number of new patents registered. But it's interesting, guys, the South Korean ones. Any of those stand out?
Canon's kind of surprising as well.
Which one is that, Boya?
Canon.
Canon, it's astonishing. I was surprised by Canon, and they are usually higher than that. But clearly, we don't know how many patents they are registering. But Samsung's been at the top of the pile for a long, long time. I mean, look where Hyundai and, we know Hyundai and Kia are linked. Dell Technologies, Johnson & Johnson. Do you guys want me to share this document with you? I'll download it for my own interest. Sorry, let me move that across so you guys can look at what is there. Any others that stand out? Yeah, there's a, truthfully, it's astonishing. I mean, the other one that I found, and I just saw it now. Yeah, no, Deutsche Telekom, there's another one. NVIDIA. I thought NVIDIA would be a heck of a lot higher than that. I really thought NVIDIA would be a lot higher than that. Okay. Guys, it's a good place to stop. Let me stop there. 80 University. Yeah, but remember, universities get funding to innovate in certain areas. So often companies that don't do their own research and development will fund universities to do that research and development, and those universities would then register the patents. So we shouldn't be too surprised about that one, Leica. Yeah. Any questions and comments for tonight, guys? I'll load the video.